yeah, I am so happy that Jason Kelce just got it right out of the way and let us know that a Disney-owned channel, you can definitely, on a Disney-owned channel, I should say, you can say man tits. Woohoo! I mean, it couldn't be a better week. The Eagles are 1-0. We got to see our guy on Monday Night Football, and we're all sitting here yelling about the defense. But I want to start out positive with the defense because it should be positive for the defense. Vic Fangio is 100% the right coordinator. It's worth the wait. Well, kind of. I mean, we still can't fucking figure out linebacker. More on that in a little bit. And no disrespect to Zach Bond with that statement. This dude has completely evolved to another level of confusion for quarterbacks around the league, and that's a good thing. You're going to hate that Brandon Graham is going to be dropping back in coverage, and we hate that in this town anyway. We hated it with anybody who does it. Do you know where that started? Sean fucking McDermott. Can you believe that? We've been bitching about defensive ends backing up in coverage since Sean McDermott. Can we please understand that in any type of 3-4 setup or 5-1 penny or whatever this thing is, it is always going to be that way. Always, always, always. This is a 7-on-7 league. You got to cover every inch of the field, and you've got to make sure that those big boys get through in the middle, and one of your defensive ends gets there, or a linebacker gets there now, which Nakobe Dean, by the way, is very, very good at. He's just... Guys, he's not good at anything else. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm glad that he is more than capable of hanging in there, but I don't think Nakobe Dean is still a long-term solution. You know that too. And I know that Trot Jr. is backing up Bond, but, you know, it's not like he can't play middle linebacker either. I'd like to see some of that. And as far as the production goes, I really have to give a mulligan to the defensive line in terms of sacks or pressures or anything, because if you can sit there and tell me that, yes, the Packers played on the same field, well, it sounds oddly like the Super Bowl takes where I was very pissed about everybody slipping and sliding and not getting any pressure on Patrick Mahomes. So I'm going to take a mulligan if you can do that too. You know, on this, because I believe that they are going to make Kirk Cousins' life a living hell on Monday Night Football for all the same reasons that you and I already know. It's Monday night, it's away, and it's prime time. So the other thing that the Eagles have going for them, other than the Atlanta Falcons are a dumpster fire trash organization and have no idea what they're doing, and I still don't know why they didn't want Bill Belichick in charge, but it's got to be better than this bullshit that's going on right now with this organization. Did you see Chase Daniel bring up the fact that he noticed Kirk Cousins' tape was vastly different from any point in his career? Every time that Kirk Cousins is in shotgun, and primarily that's where he lives too, his right foot is planted in front, and he's waiting for that football to come, and he goes and whips that thing back to try and get the ball out of his hands faster. I was like, oh, that makes complete sense to me. And you know what Kirk Cousins is doing right now? He's saddling up, just like Peyton Manning used to do. And Chase went on to describe that that's like what non-athletic quarterbacks do to, you know, stay upright. So if we've got good grass, we've got Monday Night Football and all the other things we know about Kirk Coupons, that man is probably not going to make it through this game if he's just a little bit unhealthy, as Chase Daniel suggested. So why is that important for this discussion when it comes to the defensive ends? Because those bad boys are definitely going to be covering flats, slots, angles, crossers, tossers, boppers, and God knows what else against this team. As long as Kirk Cousins is going to be flat-footed and want to throw that football as fast as possible, there is no reason to come out aggressively blitzing or any of that. That Atlanta offensive line might as well be you and fucking me. Did you see that game? Oh my God. And if the eyes didn't back us up, Ben Baldwin over there sure did. The Atlanta Falcons are near or dead last in terms of pass protection in the interior. And if this isn't the Jalen Hurts coming, well, I was just about to say, if this isn't the Jalen Hurts coming out party, then we got some serious problems. That is also true. But if it's not the Jalen Carter coming out party, then yeah, I think we will have a lot of questions after this. And I know there's a lot of you, including the great David Ramos, who believes Jordan Davis is now suckfest.com. So I think all of those things will be erased on Monday night, and we'll be feeling a ton better. And here's why I believe it will be even better coming into this. I want to pay attention going on to the weekend, and maybe I missed this already, but I think this presents an opportunity because you and I are seeing the same things here. You and I read the same reports at training camp, and granted, those can all be full of shit sometimes, but every single person, including after preseason games that covers this team, said Jalen Hunt needs to be taking snaps away from everybody because he's crushing dudes. And we saw that too. And this is where I think personnel didn't work out. And thank God that Vic Fangio this week confirmed that he's basically the GM of the defense, because that's why Devin White isn't starting, because he stinks. He is bad. And every Tampa Bay fan warned us about it. I think beat reporter Discord Mike warned us about it forever. So, he deserves to celebrate this one. Honestly, he was trying to tell me. But, this is his squad, and we are going to see more Ajamo, and we are going to see probably more Trot Jr. coming in here. Nakobe is at a point where he is going to be very valuable in the Vic Fangio defense, but this is kind of what I've always thought of him since he got drafted here. He's going to end up being a fantastic role player because that middle is going to open up for him. I don't want to say they're two gapping because they're trying to kill the quarterback in the middle there, but this defense is designed for those dudes to flow. That's why we're so pumped about Zach Bond right now and his amazing performance, because he's able to go do his job and wreck dudes, I know that we're still looking for killers, but I think Jalen Hunt is at least a small answer to that, even though it's very disappointing after you're paying Bryce Huff all this money and there's this oh man, we anticipated a lot more snaps from him. And again, I am still taking the mulligan with the turf on that. I want to see him on real grass, but I'll be here if all of this shit is wrong and even Josh Sweat looks like shit, and it just tells you how fucking good Brandon Graham is, by the way. Even when he's dropping back in coverage, I'm sorry, Tennessee Eagle, I know you hate it too. Clearly a Hall of Famer. Just Eagles Hall of Famer, no doubt about it, and you got to consider it and yell at me if those numbers are just god-awful and Brandon Graham isn't touching any type of Hall of Famer right now, but I don't know. I love the dude, and that's how good he is. Right? And this is totally not his bag. So I'm with that as well. This is still personnel transition, philosophy transition. But one thing's for sure, we can count on this secondary. And when is the last time you have felt ultimately comfortable saying that? I still have my utmost worries with how CJ GJ and Vic Fangio are going to work out long term. But for now, all these guys are clicking. And Ryan Meehan, I know we're on this same wavelength here in the Discord, but Darius Slay is pretty fucking amazing right out of the gate. Okay? That is a positive thing. All of this is positive, which is why you can tell that Vic is in control here. It's what I felt the entire game of even the sloppy shit that kind of came in, and yes, the offense put them in a very precarious position against the Packers right away. That right there, the mentality of fuck you, they're not scoring, is right back with all of these guys. And you need that more than ever, especially when Quinyon Mitchell comes into this motherfucker on his first game in a foreign country as an NFL player and shores up the number one wide receiver and says, fuck you, throw at me anyway. And then talk shit after that. God damn, that got me fired up. That dude is for real. And I'm going to be honest with you. If Isaiah Rodgers touches that side of the field coming into Atlanta, I'm going to be pissed. I don't know where we got this idea that he's good. All right. He was part of a weird shuffle after a Super Bowl loss with a different defensive coordinator. And honestly, the way I view it, probably a favor from Nick Sirianni. We have no idea if this guy's good. We love him on social media. I want him to be good, and I definitely think he's going to be a part of this team moving forward. But there's another thing that every beat writer pretty much told us. That dude is better than Ringo. That dude's outplaying Isaiah Rodgers, and you can move him in and outside. That's Vic Fangio's fucking wet nightmare, or dream nightmare. It's a nightmare for everybody else. The other thing that we definitely know, and I love him to death, and I hate saying this, but Avonte can't play, man. He can't start. Let me just say that. Avonte can't start right now. And I know Cooper DeJean is where he's at, but it'd probably be better to start mixing him in here and keeping Mitchell outside as much as possible, because if Slay is playing the way he's playing and Mitchell's playing the way that he's playing, all Cooper DeJean wants to do is lay wood. And that pause. But that to me is what I get excited about, because if Reed Blankenship kind of keeps continuing this ball hawking thing, and again, it allows those safeties to just go be themselves, and they don't have to go be superstars, because you have, once again, fucking have two superstar corners right out of the gate. Man, Man, Ryan Meehan, I got to apologize to Darius Slay because I want this thing to work out. This is so good, and it allows CJ GJ to go do whatever the fuck he wants to. Be himself. Be his wild, ridiculous self. He kind of reminds me of Asante Samuel, honestly. Like, yeah, go pick off some balls, man. Go we're going to get burnt. We'll get burnt every now and again, and that's one thing that a Vic Fangio defense, isn't accustomed to. They're supposed to be, it's the same thing as Jonathan Gannon and everything else. But man, they just got too much fucking swagger, guys. They do. That secondary will probably end up helping out these young guys up front, and maybe there needs to be some more firepower in there. I just have this funny feeling Milton Williams is going to be a fucking superstar now. Probably not the first name out of anybody's mouth nationally, but they're going to have to start doing that. That's my impression here too. He's too good, man. He's been too consistent with this. So I'm just asking, give it this week, and I promise you, we'll probably more or less be talking about, okay, Nakobe Dean's probably a role player, and come on, do you know what I'm going to say next? It's time to put Nolan Smith to bed. Right? That's where Jalen Hunt belongs. It's just not there, man. They need to find something else. That was my one worry. That I don't know if you remember this. Lane Johnson said out loud, "Oh man, it's just going to take some time, yo." And that got me worried because if Lane Johnson is first impression of that guy is it's going to take some time, and then you ultimately think, "Oh well, he's a Hall of Famer, so he's supposed to say that, and he's a rookie, and he's going to crush him every time he's in practice." Well, Unfortunately, I really do believe that Howie Roseman made a huge mistake of just going Georgia, which also tells me that they did really believe that they were going to get Glenn Schumann, who was the defensive coordinator of the Georgia Bulldogs, and something happened because you don't do that otherwise. Why would you pack all of these guys in? I'm like, yeah, we're going to get Jordan Davis and Carter and whatever. That seems just like a very Howie Roseman idea. And now that Vic is here, he's patting Howie on the head. He's patting him on the head. And it probably started with, I told you so with Devin White. That's not a Vic Fangio move. Did they play together? I don't know. It didn't seem like it at the time. Nakobe Dean does not look like a Vic Fangio middle linebacker. And who knows? I don't even know if he likes I don't know if he likes the Georgia boys putting their hands down in the ground either. I don't know. But I am glad that he is at least starting the process of going, no, Howie, this instead of this instead of that. And eventually, it's going to look great because if Zach Bond is the real deal here and is just so productive because of a lot of things I said, the man in charge has complete control of his side of the ball when it does come to the roster. Right? Probably not signings, but he does have say to be like, I need you to go sign this guy instead of this guy. And Howie's always been open to that, even obviously with Nick Sirianni too, and Doug Peterson. But just like I said in the beginning, it's just more comfortable with this aging warrior known as Vic Fangio. Very curious what you think, but if I am going to tell you my major concerns right now, I want to go back to Bryce Huff. Yeah. I don't think this should just be completely poo-pooed because we can say whatever we want right now with the Hassan Reddick stuff. And yes, more came out about that. Kind of, sort of. No real news other than he's definitely not playing for the Jets. And Derek Gunn reported he ain't coming back to the Eagles. Which I don't even know if I necessarily wanted him back here. My whole point with Hassan was always, if you want to throw a seventh that's like in 2027 to get him back, fine. And I saw and had discussions with John Kincaid, who is obviously part of the Kincaid and Sal Chunas show over on 97.5 The Fanatic. And he's been adamant all offseason, like, nobody spoke up for this asshole. Why the fuck would they want him back? Why do these people want him back? He was so selfish, and like no one from this defense is like, man, we could really use Hassan there. So I agree. I don't want him back, especially if none of the players in the locker room really wanted him there, and not the first time that he's done that in the NFL. However, Howie once again kind of just went, we'll just take your guy from my guy and we'll be good. And so far, like, what the fuck? Like, Patrick Johnson could probably outplay Bryce Huff, and he's been hanging around here for a couple of years now. Like, there is no killer right now on the defensive end. None. And this was supposed to be the guy to go and do that. And I'm not even sure he can fucking set an edge. So it's not like, I don't think Howie won shit. Howie ended up paying a guy who was going to be more team-oriented about the same amount of money, if not more money, than what he was going to pay Hassan. And all you had to do was convert some fucking bonus money for $7 million and give him guaranteed money, and this isn't an issue. But Hassan can get sacks, and he can get fumbles and takeaways, and maybe he's selfish, but I'll take selfish over whatever the fuck this is. That's all. I know you weren't particularly going like, yeah, Bryce Huff is going to be a killer. We were all kind of like, hope it works out. And I think this was a terrible idea. Terrible. Never trust fucking Joe Douglas for anything, That's where you just kind of look at Howie and go like, you're great with information, man. You know particularly what everybody wants and what everybody needs. This I think is his boo-boo with maybe linebackers too, but like he kind of just looks at characteristics too many times with signings and goes, I need that instead of that. Done. And maybe that's his analytic team too, but dude, Bryce Huff is not as good as Hassan Reddick. I don't give a shit what anybody says. And I'm not mad that he's not here or any of that. This is not a gripe for all the reasons I just said. Bryce Huff is nowhere near the pass rusher as Hassan Reddick. So there's a downgrade there. I think we can admit that, right? Even though Mulligan, come surprise me, Bryce. But I don't think that's happening. This is going to be heavily reliant on Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Zach Bond, and Josh Sweat, honestly. But again, this secondary is pretty damn near spectacular right out of the gate. So, yeah, give them some time up front, and I will too. Bryce, I apologize. I will give you time. But, we're already talking about it in this Discord, just so you know. Chris Wood was like, is there any way that they could just swap Huff 1-for-1 for something here? And the dead cap is just... You're locked in, basically. So super excited to see if Quinyon Mitchell can cover Kyle Pitts. I don't have too many predictions for the offense other than go put up a 40 burger because I feel like that's going to happen. Much like what I said Tuesday, the majority of what I believe the Eagles should do right now is just give Saquon the football any way they can in free space, touches, runs, and then just go have fun with Dallas Goedert in this game. That's... I don't think Atlanta can cover anybody, but this should be really easy for Jalen Hurts. And if he only ends up throwing like 22 passes or something like that, you know what the talking points are going to be. This is why Jalen can't lead again. Yeah, probably not. And why should he? Again, he's not an underdog story enough anymore. So that's why nobody likes him. He's not Brock Purdy still trying to get paid and look at how efficient he is and blah, 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 blah. So all Jalen Hurts has to do in this game is follow Kellen Moore's system, turn off any advice from Nick Sirianni on strategy, in-game strategy, I should say. And that's it. You should be walking out of here 45-13, baby. Something gaudy, something just ridiculous. That might look like 35-13 or something like that, but I have no faith in Kirk Cousin suddenly finding Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson and that offensive line suddenly being good. They can't cover anybody. They can barely tackle anybody. They barely put pressure on the quarterback. If this is a struggle, we will have questions. I don't foresee that happening, but I do foresee you and me hanging out post-game, drinking coffee, and maybe some bourbon. I don't know. It's your choice. So, as always, go visit me at monetizephilly.com. Go follow Wrapping Papered on Instagram. Both of those things are in the description along with the invite to the Discord. Please come by anytime. We would love to see you there. Or come say hi on social as well. At John Barchard, at Bell and the Bird, both on Twitter and Instagram. I'll see you here for a Victory Monday night, Tuesday morning show. And I'll be talking to you all weekend. Go Birds!